Hello and welcome to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic on another beautiful day here in the UK. I can hardly believe it. And today we're hoping for a beautiful puzzle day as well, because I'm going to be tackling a puzzle by a birthday boy. This puzzle on screen is by Scojo. It's called Chocolate Banana Sandwiches, and apparently it is Scojo's proudest creation. Now, we've featured many Scojo puzzles on the channel over the years. They have always been brilliant, so I'm intrigued to hear that this is the one that Scojo thinks is his best. I checked it on Logic Masters Germany. It has a 100% approval rating, but it's quite old. It came out last year, and it's only had 10 solvers, which is slightly worrying. But we've had it recommended to us by none other than folk like the Peddling Pianist and Dorlier have written in to say that this puzzle would be a great one for the channel. So we're going to take that on trust, and I'm going to have a go at it. And Scojo, I can also tell you that your fiancée Erica did write in and said that you would be having chocolate cake today. So many happy returns. Now, what else do I have to tell you about? Not much, I don't think. There's a bonus video over on Patreon at the moment of me solving this Jane Street creation, which is this. It's called Bug Byte, and it's a funny mathsy type problem, but very enjoyable. So have a go at it. I'll put a link in the video description to the puzzle itself, and if you get stuck, you can watch me do battle with it. And then I've got some birthday announcements to do, some more birthday announcements to do. Let's start with Inga from your boyfriend Casper, who claims, Inga, that he got you into variant sudoku, but the two of you now enjoy it greatly. And Inga, many happy returns. I hope you get chocolate cake today. Wes, I know it's your birthday today, and that's because your girlfriend Sonia wrote to us and said you'd appreciate a shout out. That email arrived just in time, Sonia. Well done. And then I'm going to say, is it Helene? I'm not sure on the pronunciation. It's a Swedish name, so it could be Helen and it could be Helena, but I'm going to go for Helene, who's turned 23 over there in Sweden today. I know this because your boyfriend Jonathan wrote to us and said you'd appreciate a shout out, and that he has sorted out a chocolate cake with a 50-50 ratio of icing to cake, which is, I mean, that's good work, Jonathan. Well done. And the other birthday I want to shout out today, although this is for a birthday on Saturday over there in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It is Kate's birthday. And I remember, Kate, reading out your birthday last year. You're a retired US Navy captain. And Kate's been battling with cancer for the last year or so. And I know how difficult that has been. And you've got a lot going on in your family life at the moment. I'll shout out Caroline and Mary Elizabeth, it was your son Mitchell who wrote to us, Kate, wrote us a very long, moving email, and mentioned that his two sisters, Caroline and Mary Elizabeth, are graduating in the coming weeks. So Caroline and Mary Elizabeth, we wish you well with that. And I think today your brother Patrick is marrying Gabby. At least there's a ceremony today, I think, so I hope that goes tremendously well. And Kate, our very best wishes, of course, to you for your upcoming birthday on Saturday, and then Mother's Day, of course. I think it's Mother's Day, isn't it, on Sunday? Now let's turn our attention to chocolate banana sandwiches. I think I've done a chocolate banana puzzle on the channel before, and I think I really liked it, and I sort of said it would be great to see more chocolate banana puzzles, but I don't think I've done more than one. I have read the rules to this one. They're slightly terrifying. I will now read them again. Here we go. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply, so we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Chocolate banana. Shade some cells so that every orthogonally connected group of shaded cells is rectangular, and every orthogonally connected group of unshaded cells is non-rectangular. Now, when I read that before I turned on the webcam, I thought to myself, oh, does rectangular mean rectangular? Or is a square a rectangle? So I went and looked at, Nicoli, actually, the Japanese puzzle constructor's description of the rules of Chocolate Banana, and they are very clear that in Chocolate Banana, a rectangle includes a square. So I'm going to assume that that's the case, and if it turns out not to be possible to fill the puzzle with that assumption, I will have to change midway through. And if it is correct, I will change the rules when we get to the puzzle. But we haven't had this puzzle tested, so I don't know. I don't know what the correct reading of it is. So I'm going to assume it's normal Chocolate Banana rules. A digit in a circle represents the number of cells in its shaded or unshaded group. And then the last rule is comedy difficult. It says clues above a column represent the sum of any shaded cells between the 1 and the 9 in that column. But clues to the left of a row represent the sum of any unshaded cells between the 1 and the 9 in that row. So the clues work differently depending on whether they're sort of working vertically or working horizontally. So what I think we should do before we get cracking is just try and understand the rules a bit better. So in the end, the grid is going to be a collection of shaded cells and a collection of unshaded cells. The shaded cells, any shaded things we create are always rectangles. That's what we're being told. And rectangles can include squares. So things like this. And then the unshaded cells, so if those were the shaded cells, the unshaded cells have to not be, well, they wouldn't be if this was correct. They have to not be square themselves or rectangular. And then we've got the digit thing. In each digit in a circle represents the number of cells in its shaded or unshaded group. So this is total nonsense, because we'd have to put the same number into all of those purple squares. So let's gloss over that and read the final clue again. So clues above a column. So it's sort of a play on sandwich sudoku. Sandwich sudoku, which was, I think, the first variant that really caught on for the channel. So we in the very early days of the channel. So this would have been 2017, 2018. We'd started to do a few sudokus. I think we'd done a few killer sudokus, and then we did a sandwich sudoku. And the way sandwich sudoku works is the clues outside the grid give you the sum of the digits sandwiched between the 1 and the 9 in a row or column. And loads of people tried that puzzle and said, wow, this is really interesting. I've never seen a sudoku like this. And it went from there. That was the genesis of variant sudoku becoming such a big thing. But in this puzzle, it doesn't quite work like that. We do have to look at the sum of the digits between the... No, hang on. We do have to look between the 1 and the 9. But vertically, we only count the shaded cells. So in this column, if this was 1 and this was 9, those 3 digits would add up to... Oh no, that's not even true. That's not even true. Hang on, I need to reset this. So if this is 1 and this is 9, then the shaded cells between the 1 and the 9 have to sum to 14. Whoa! And in the rows, the unshaded cells. So if we put 1 there and 9 there, it might not be possible. But those digits there would have to sum up to. That's not possible. Let's delete that. Let's put the 9 there. Those 4 cells would have to be unshaded. Well, they don't. No, that's not true. The cells in the gap between the 1 and the 9 that are unshaded would sum to 18. It doesn't have to be all 4, it could just be 3 of them. It couldn't be 2 of them. I can't see that. That's about the only thing I've managed to see. Good grief. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now the start here must be this column, mustn't it? Now, because obviously every one of these digits, this is a truism, a knowledge bomb even, every column 5 contains 9 different digits, so each of the digits here is different. Now, I therefore think that these are all in different regions. Because obviously if this is a 4, I was trying to type 4, but let's say that's a 4 and that's a 5. Each one of these circles is specifying the size of its region. So that means that these are definitely in different regions, because 4 is a different number from 5. Now, well, what does that mean? The 1 in the column will be in a square. So maybe that deals with the question. Yes, okay, so now I know the answers to the question that I was worried about. I hadn't thought about solving the puzzle, but there is a 1 in column 5. Let's put it in the middle there. That circle is saying that this is a region of size 1. Oh no, okay. Well, no, it's still open to interpretation, isn't it? If you view a square as not a rectangle, then there would still be a question. Now I'm going to view a square as a rectangle. So I'm going to claim that the 1 in this column is a shaded cell. And I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to claim that the 2 in this column is also a shaded cell. Because let's say that's a 2, it can't bump into the circles above it, so it's going to be that or that. And that is definitely rectangular. I mean, no doubt about that. So 1 and 2 in this column are definitely shaded, according to my understanding of the rules. 3 in the column might... no, see, 3 is a bit different, because 3 could be shaded like that, or it could be bent like that, and that would make it unshaded. And presumably bigger numbers are just going to get more and more, you could have more and more perverse shapes. Okay, all right, but right, hang on, let's shade this column. So because it's purple and green, because these are all in different regions, the shading is going to alternate down the column, isn't it? So we're either going to find at the end of the once we've solved the puzzle that the purple cells are shaded, or we're going to find that the green cells are shaded. One of those things must be true. Because if this is unshaded, this must be shaded, because these are in different regions. And then once that's shaded, that would be unshaded again, and the pattern would continue. So there's sort of an oscillating shaded, unshaded thing down the column. But we know that the 1 and the 2 are definitely shaded, but we don't know whether that's green or purple. Right, what else do we know? We know we've got this clue outside the grid. So the 15 is telling us that the shaded cells, but I don't know what the colour of shadedness is, between the 1 and the 9 sum to 50. I mean, this is completely ludicrous. And we know that the only other thing I'm seeing here is that whatever the shaded cells are, let's say they're the purple cells, just for the sake of exposition. If they're the purple cells, these digits are going to be, well, these cells are going to be filled with digits. And those digits are going to specify a sort of one width rectangle, aren't they? Because if this square here is a 6, then that's saying I can't make a, you know, that is not a rectangle. Any movement out of row 5 for this clue, if it is a shaded clue, will create a non-rectangular shape. So the rectangle that will emanate from the shaded cells, whether they are green or whether they are purple, is just going to be stripes like this. That's what's going to happen. So if the 9 was shaded in this column, it's going to be a sort of complete row. Alright, so there are some rows in this, or there are some, yes, there are some cells in row 5 that are not 9. No, that's not even true. Oh, Bobbins McBobbins face. Well, what I was going to say is, you see, there's sort of 2 conditions for each cell, and it makes it really difficult. I was going to say that this couldn't be a 9. That's not true. It cannot be shaded and be a 9, because if it was shaded and a 9, we know that the shape of it would be that, and that I'd have to write 9 in there and 9 in there. So that is not a shaded 9, but it could be an unshaded 9, and if it's an unshaded 9, it needs to be 9 cells, not a rectangle, so it could be anything. It could be anything, I mean almost anything. So I'm wondering, maybe it's the 30 clue. 30 is a big sandwich Sudoku clue. I mean, let's talk about a secret that I know. Something I share with my very favourite people. If you're watching this video, of course you're one of my favourite people. And the secret is that a complete row of a Sudoku, when correctly completed, in accordance with the rules of Sudoku, will contain the digits 1 to 9 once each. And if you add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So I know that all of the cells in this row sum to 45. But I'm being told that the... What am I being told? I'm being told that the sum of the unshaded cells between the 1 and the 9 in this row sum to 30. Now 30 is quite a big number, because if we think about the 1 and the 9, they add up to 10, don't they? So if the 1 and the 9 were in the most extreme positions, here and here, and everything here was included in the sandwich, the maximum sum of the sandwich could be 35. And here we're being told it's 30, so it's almost maxed out, but not quite. So almost all of the cells in this row that are between the 1 and the 9, well, either all of them or almost all of them are going to have to add up, are going to have to be unshaded as well. So does that mean that has to be unshaded? No. No is the answer. I can actually see a way that that is not true. Let me show you. If I go 1, 9, 2, 3, say, and I make both of those shaded, that's completed this shape, and I pack all of those, I make all of those unshaded, then I think they ought to add up. 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 do add up to 30, and that's fine. And I wouldn't, that's weird as well, I wouldn't even know what the 1 and the 9 were. I wouldn't know whether they were shaded or not. Oh, bother. Okay, so that's not how you do it. So this row, I think, is actually quite complicated. So it must be this column. There must be some meta trick or something that I don't get. That I mean, I can see that square. It is true to say that square can't be a 1 or a 9. That is true. Because if that's a 1 or a 9, the longest length of sandwich one can create is a 3-cell sandwich. Because I could put the 1 and the 9 there. I'm only adding 3 cells, and 3 cells not including 9 most certainly will not add up to 30. So I can see that that cell is not a 1 or a 9. I don't know. I mean, I don't think, or at least at first blush to me, let me just think about this. I'm so sorry. I'm not understanding this at all yet. You see, I can see one thing I could try and argue, and that is that if you look at the purples as a set, I think it is true to say that only one of the purples could be a 9 if purples are shaded. So imagine purples are shaded, then we know they're all rectangular shapes, so all the purples are rectangular shapes. Which one could be a 9? Only this one, I'm going to argue. Because if I try and write 9 in any of the others, I'm going to cause a whole row which is going to bump into another circle, and that won't work. So maybe the good question is, can this be a 9? Because if this can't be, I'm not even sure that is a good question. I'm not even sure that is a good question, actually. I'm changing my mind, because if I worked out that's a shaded 9, then that would be the shape of it. Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on, I've got something. Right, something obvious, totally obvious. Right, 9 is not shaded. Ah, that's clever. Right. Okay, here's the reason. It doesn't matter whether green or purple is shaded. If 9 is shaded, the problem comes for the connecting digits. So look, if this is a shaded 9, we know it's a big long rectangle like this. And it has to be 9 large, so all of these have to be unshaded. And now what numbers do we put in these? They can't only be, well, they can't be 9, can they? And they're at least size 9, so they must be bigger than 9. That doesn't work. Right, so actually, the 9 in the column is unshaded, but the 1 in the column is shaded because it creates a square. Right. So, okay, so something... So the 1... Oh, poppets, I don't know how to think about this. So if the 1 is... So whatever colour I put the 1 in, the 9 is in a different colour. But the digits that we're summing are the same colour as the 1. I'm just wondering if I can get rid of 1 from the middle cells somehow, because, I mean, let's just try. If I put 1 there, now we know that we're summing to 15, which must be at least 2 cells of sum, mustn't it? I think there's a problem with that. I don't think this can be a 1. I'm not certain, but this is my reasoning. We've got to put the 9 there because I need at least 2 cells of green within the sum. Now these would therefore have to be an 8-7 pair, wouldn't they? That seems to me to be true. This 9, I've got no idea what it looks like because it's going to be a squiggle. It's going to not be a rectangle. But one of these is an 8. And that 8... I don't understand how you can ever put 8 in a shaded cell. Because if that's an 8, let's say that's an 8. I don't know what the 8 looks like, but it's going to be something like that. It's going to be that or that. One of those things is true. And that means that this circle... Well, when I say I don't know, I can't put it in a shaded cell. I can't put it as a shaded cell in the sum. Because all of those would then be purple. And that means that this also needs to be 9. Because it can't be... It's at least 8. But it can't be 9 because of that. So actually, I can rule out this from being a 1. And presumably by symmetry, I can also... Whoopsie. I can also rule out this from being a 1. So if that's 1, that... Oh, yeah, that would have to be 9. I need 2 cells. This would be an 8-7 pair. And the 8 would be in the middle of the sum. And there would be too much pressure on the inner purple digits. Right, so can I get rid of 1 from the very middle of the grid? Maybe I have to use the 15 clue to do that. So if this is 1, then we know that purple is shaded. Ah, that doesn't work. I can immediately see that doesn't work. Because we know 1 in this column basically gives us the shading. So purple is now shaded. And I need two purples within the sum. And I could get 2 purples there, but I couldn't put the 9 outside the grid to frame the sum, could I? So actually, right. So now what we've got, I mean, it's not much, but I've got that the 1 is in one of these 6 positions. Now, I'm going to try these 2 first, I think. They look very symmetrical to me, right? I'm going to try that one. So if that's 1, then we know purple is shaded. So this would be 9. Okay, that one doesn't work, but for a reason that's not symmetrical. This one doesn't work as a 1 because it would force this to be a 9, and that can't be a 1 or a 9 because of the 30 clue. So that's fine. We can get rid of 1 from this square, but we can't get rid of it from the other position. So in this situation, but it's still the same logic, isn't it? Ah, so maybe I can extend this to say I must have a 3-cell. That's the point. Ah, right, very clever, Scojo. That's the point, isn't it? If ever I position the 1s and the 9s such that I have a 2-cell sum between the 1 and the 9, 8 will be interior to the sequence. So in this situation, this is a 7-8 pair. 8 is interior to the sequence, and 8 cannot be interior to the sequence, because even if I put the 8 next to the 9, this would have to be at least an 8. Well, it would have to be more than 8, and it can't be. Right, so actually, I can now get rid of this one. I might be able to get rid of these 2 as well. No, oh no, I can't. Bother. That's really annoying. Oh, that can't be a 1 or a 9 because that would break the 30 clue. So I'm doing well. I've got it down to 3. Now, I suspect the 1 or the 9 is going to be on the edge, so I'm going to try and get rid of this one. If that's a 1, then this is a 9. Because we've worked out we can't have a 2-cell sum. So I can't just add those 2, because one of those would be an 8 then. We've worked out that doesn't work. So we'd have to have this situation. This is a 9. These squares would be a 3. They would include a 2, wouldn't they? Because we know 2 is a shaded number in this column, and we know that they can't include 8 because 8's too difficult. So the other 2 cells would add up to 13, and it would have to be 267, exactly like that, 267 into those squares. Now, why is that a problem? Haven't got a clue. Have not got a clue. The 18 clue in row 8 looks fine to me, actually, with a 1 here, because we could have 3 cells on either side of, it's going to be unshadedness, and then a 9. So providing you can make 3 different numbers add up to 18 without using 9, it will work. So that works. So I fear we have lucked into the right answer here. The only thing I'm slightly concerned about is one of these has to be a 7. And I don't think it can be... the 7 might have to attach to the 9. Ah. Oh, wait a minute. Is that the point? Golly, this is very clever. This is really interesting. It's completely weird, but it's very interesting. Right, let me just try and articulate why I think there's a problem with 7. If I put 7 anywhere that's not touching the 9, I've got to make a rectangle of size 7. Let's just guess what that might look like. Something like that. But the point then is that both of those squares have to be greater than 7, don't they? Because the 7 has to be surrounded entirely by purple, which means the count of this region, in fact those two would be in the same space, but the count of this region is at least 7, and the count of this region is at least 7. So these would have to be an 8-9 pair, and they can't be, because 9's already gone. So you can't put 7 in either of those, which means this is 7. But that doesn't work for a beautiful reason, which is the 30 clue. If this is 7, in this row, 7 of the cells connected to this are shaded. And they're contiguous, so they could be something like that. But I've got to have at least 2 unshaded cells in the sandwich to get to the... Oh no! I need many more. I'm sorry, I need 30. I mean, it's just utterly impossible, unless I've misunderstood the rules. Yeah, the 30 is counting unshaded cells. Actually, that number would have to be quite a small number if it was shaded. So this is definitely wrong. This is definitely wrong. So we can now go to a point where we've got the 1 in one of 2 positions now, and I'm starting to understand some of the restrictions that apply in this column. So if that's 1, this is it. Right, and now I've done it. Okay, I now know, I think that that's a 1, because if this is a 1, we're summing to 15, we're summing purples, and we know it can't be 2 purples because that's going to involve an 8. So we have to sum 3 purples, which means this has to be the 9. But if that's the 9, that's breaking the 30 clue, because it's putting everything in this row as shaded. So that's wrong. So in fact, the 1 is there. The 1 is there. So 1 is shaded. So one of these other clues is a 2. We're summing a group of 3 to get to our total, because we can't sum 2 because we can't use 8, 7. We still can't use 8, 7. So this square is a 9. That's got to be right. That's got to be right. So now, okay, so now my 8, right, so now in row 8, you can't make a sum of 2 cells add up to 18. It's impossible. So on one side of this clue here, maybe I should change the colour now, because now we know that purple, we now know purple is definitely shaded. So I'll use grey, and I'll use light green for unshaded. So this is unshaded, but I've got to put the 1 far enough away from this that the cells in the middle can sum to 18. So there's either going to be 3 unshadeds here or 3 unshadeds here, and then a 1 on the periphery. Now, now what? Now we're going to try and think about other things. So, okay, this one clue has to be framed by unshadedness. Then we could use, very unsure about what to use here. I do know for sure that none of these squares is an 8. That is true. That is also... alright, here's a point. This is not an 8, because if it's an 8, it's going to bash into this and make that an 8 as well, because remember, the grey cells just give rise to horizontalness. Oh, I can't take that as Mark calling me from Countdown. I shall say no more. So, oh, it's still ringing. I can't get distracted either. Let's go for, yeah, so this can't be an 8. We can't put an 8 in, oh, no, we can't put an 8 in the sum. We worked that out, didn't we? So if I put an 8 anywhere there, these both have to be at least 9, which is impossible. Yeah, that's right. So 8 is in one of those positions in column 5. Right. Sorry, I realise I've just stopped. I'm just trying to understand what that means. Does that mean I need... if I don't have a 7 in grey, then how do I get to 15? I'd have to do 4, 5, 6, wouldn't I? With a 2 at the bottom. Is there a reason these can't be a 4, 5, 6 triple? Well, there might be. I don't know what that reason is. Oh, now that's really confusing. Okay, so that's probably the answer. 4, 5, 6. And then this would be a 2. That digit probably can't be enormous. I can see that because of the 15 clue. Yeah. If this was a Let's say that was a 7. Then it can't bump into... In fact, if that was a 7, it would have to look like that, yeah. And there have to be unshaded cells in this row between a 1 and a 9, summing to 15. So that definitely can't be a 7. Can it be a 6? If this was a 6... You see, that's weird. You see, it can be a 6, I think. If it was a 6 like this, and we made that a 1, and we put a 9 there, and we made that a 7-8 pair, and made it green, that's fine. That is so strange. Okay, neither of those can be 7. I'm going to good lift those. I can't, because this can't be 7 because it will bump into this. However, I draw 7 consecutive cells in this row, it would bump this. Oh, hang on, I just need... no, okay, that's from Mark, so I've just read that, but I won't relay it. Okay, so that means... Well, what does that mean? I haven't got a clue. I don't know what that means, actually. So, okay, so neither of these is 7. So we've almost managed to prove this is a 4, 5, 6 triple now. Can't see why that's a problem. But that would make this a 2. Maybe there's a problem with this being a 2. It'll be a rectangle in one direction or the other. There's no problem, is there, with having 8? 8 as unshaded, I think, is fine, because it can be any shape you like. I think. Oh, it's not low digits, is it? Oh, that would be really peculiar if it was. 2, 6, 7. Oh, hang on. That's an interesting thought. Hang on. All right, I had a totally different idea. If that's 4, 5, 6. Oh wow, that's so beautiful. Gosh, I feel so stupid. I feel so stupid. I'm really sorry. Oh dear, dear, dear. That's okay. You got me with that. I just didn't think about it cleverly enough. Right. If this is 4, 5, 6, that's a 2 because we know 2 is grey. Where on earth do I put 3 in the column? You can't put it anywhere. Because just think about the lowest value of these greys is 4. So let's make this one 4 for the sake of exposition. So that's going to have to be a 4, something like that. All of these are going to be green. They're going to connect to circles in the middle, however we draw them. And they can't be 3s, therefore. You can't put 3 anywhere. So actually, I'm not even sure I know what this means. Well, it means that 4, 5... Well, hang on. We now know that 4, 5, 6 is impossible. So I now know 7 is a grey cell in the sum. Because if 4, 5, 6 is impossible, I've got to use a higher number. And I can't use 8. So I've got to use 7 in one of those. And the other 2 digits are going to add up. That can't be 7. Sorry, I'm sort of doing 2 things in my brain at once. The other 2 digits are going to add up to 8. But 7 is in the sum. Ah, okay, I know where 7 goes. If that's 7, Sorry, and the reason this couldn't be 7, just to complete my thought process, is it will bump into this, and those would both be 7s. If this is 7, you can fit 7 in, that's fine, it doesn't bump into that. But all of these now have to be green, which means these two numbers both have to be bigger than 7. And they can't both be. One of them can be 8, but the other can't be 9. So that is not 7, so this is 7. I can see why Scojo is so proud of this, because the logic is just, it's so strange. Right, so all of these now, we can frame. We can frame this 7. We don't know what it looks like in the end, but we know it's at least got this property. So all of these have to be thingy things, unshaded cells. These 2 digits now add up to 8, so they're either 2, 6 or 3, 5. I bet you there's some trick we can do with that. This is 8, isn't it? Because this has to be greater than 7. Because again, by the time this grows to its full size, this is going to be 7 big, and it can't be 7, so it must be bigger than 7, and it can't be 9. So that is 8. Neither of these is 8. Okay, that's not 2. This is weird. If this is 2, it doesn't matter where I draw it. The framing of that 2, let's say it's that way, those 2 would turn green, wouldn't they? But we know that the 8 clue here has 7 clues in this row, 7 greens in this row to connect to this and frame this. So it would then be at least 9 big, and it's only allowed to be 8. So that is definitely not 2. So this is now 3, so that's not 6 now. I have a feeling there's a very simple question I could ask here. It's something to do with the way that these numbers have to balance between themselves. I want this to be quite a high number. I'm not convinced it has to be. Well, yes. Actually, how could it be 6? It's the same point again. I'm slowly learning. If that's 6, yeah. It doesn't matter how we build the 6. Let's build it like that. This gets 6 to frame it, which means this number is higher than 6, and it can't be because 7, 8, and 9 have gone. So actually, this is now 3 or 5, which means this is 3 or 5, and the 2 does go at the bottom of the grid down there. 7. Yes, okay, and that makes sense in the most mad as a badger type of way, because what's happening now is this 7 will grow to be 7 large. It will have 7. The 9 will have 7 in this row to frame it. And then the 2, if the 2 is there, those 2 would have to be green. And if the 2 is here, these 2 will have to be green. And that will complete the 9's total quota of greenlinesses. So it makes sense in the most weird way. Right, so these squares are 4 and 6. But if that's 4, the world cannot work. Because one of these is a 5. And that will force this to be at least 5. So that's 6. That's 4. And this can't be 5 now, or that would need to be bigger. So that's 3 and that's 5. And there is some sort of weird oscillation going on down this column. But at least we've done it. At least we've finished it now, which is a tremendous... I mean, it's taken me a long time, but I sort of feel quite relieved about that. So now all that we have to do is something. And that something is... I don't know. I don't have a clue. Any ideas? Okay, this 5 has to be a horizontal 5 that can't bump into this circle. So it's got to take those squares, which means these have to be in the 6. That 3 can't bump into the circle, or that would also be a 3, so that's got to be in. So that's got to be in. Now, right, that's really interesting, because now this one can't be in. Because if that was green, this wouldn't be of size 4, would it? So that's grey. This can't be a square, because we've deemed squares to be rectangular. It's still a problem here. It's got to grow a bit more. Oh, that can't be grey, because that's definitely not square. So that's green, that's grey. And look, I found one of these funny shapes now. That's tremendously exciting. I cannot tell you how exciting that is. That is the correct shape. Right. So the next thing, well, this 4 is finished. Yeah, that's lovely. So those have got to be grey. That's got to be green to avoid this becoming non-rectangular. This is currently rectangular, so it's going at least round the corner, because if it only took a domino, it would be still rectangular. That could be just a 3 in the corner, look, if that is a square. Oh, what's the mathematics of this row now? Oh, hang on. Yeah. Right. Yes. Okay, we can do something here, I think. Because do you remember when we looked at this some minutes ago, we were thinking about the fact that there needed to be an awful lot of unshadedness between the 1 and the 9. Well, that square, I mean, that can't be the 1 or the 9, because then we'd be summing a maximum of 3 cells to add up to 30. So that is inside the sum, but not contributing to the 30. And the interesting thing there is that if one of these is a 1 or a 9, which I think is required in order for us to get to a count of 30, it doesn't matter which one it is. If this is a 1 or a 9, we're adding some number of digits over here which are unshaded to get up to 30. And if this is a 1 or a 9, that doesn't count because it's shaded and it's inside the sum. So the maximum... Okay, so if those 3 could be inside the sum, so I think this has to be a 1 or a 9, because we can't get... It's not like normal sudoku where you can get to 30 with 9, 8, 7, 6, because 9 is part of the is part of the crusts of the sandwich. So we need at least 5 cells of sandwich. So these 2 have to be green. That has to... Well, I don't know what it is in terms of shading, but I know it's a 1 or a 9. And one of these is a 1 or a 9. But, okay, and the other interesting thing about that then is that the only way of getting these 5 digits to add up to 30, given that we can't use 9, and we've only got 5 digits, it's going to have to be 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, so we know what these are. So the rest of the row is made up of 1s, 2s, 3s and 9s. But that, okay, so this is a naked single, because that's definitely inside the sum. So it's not 1 or 9, and it's not 3. So that has to be 2. And these squares are 1, 3 or 9, depending on things. So 2 is in one of those squares by sudoku. Good grief. And therefore... Oh, that's right. Here's a lovely point. Okay, there is a 3 in one of those 2 squares. I don't know which one, but that prevents there. It's a slightly tragic point as well. It stops this being a 3 in the corner. So this has to grow. So that's got to be green. So now this corner digit is at least 5. That might mean something. I don't know what. Did we work out that was grey? Yeah, I thought we made both of those grey. I don't know why that one's lost its greyliness. Right. Where should we look now? Does anyone have any good ideas? I don't yet. Oh dear, dear, dear. It might be row 5, but I'm not sure. Oh, no, much simpler. Much simpler. That square is grey, because if that was green, it makes this 6 too big. So that's grey. So now, oh, this is, I see. So now I can't extend this to that position because it would make it non-rectangular. So the 5 gets placed. Right, so that's got to be framed by green. The 6 gets completed, which is beautiful. That can't grow or it's not rectangular. Oh, I see. And now that's weird. Whichever way the 7 goes, however, maybe the 7 can't be that shape now. It can't be exactly that shape for a really weird reason, which is if it's exactly that shape, both of those squares turn green. And then we've got 7 greens in this row plus 8 plus 9. So the 7 is either going right to the edge here or right to the edge here. But that, maybe that doesn't help me. Yeah, okay, the other clue I was wondering about was this 15 in row 5, because all of these squares are definitely shaded, so they are not included in the count. Now, okay, so doesn't this mean this has to be a 1-9 pair? I think it does. Because I must be summing at least 2 unshaded cells in the sum to get to a total that's as high as 15. So in fact, these are 7 and 8. I've got a 1-9 pair in column 9, so that's not 1 anymore, which I think meant that was 1, didn't it? Which meant that was green in order to get to our 18 sum. That might mean that that has to be... Yeah, that does mean this has to be grey. And the reason for that is that imagine it wasn't now. Then the 7 would go there, which means the 9 goes here. So now the 9 has 8 cells in it already. No, in fact, it's already got 9 cells in it already. Forgive me. But it's still got to frame the 2 at the bottom, which it can't now do at all. So that's wrong. So this is grey. And if that's grey, that's also green. And now this green can't extend here, or it will be too big. So that's got to be grey, which means that's got to be green. That's told us that the 7 goes to the left, which means those two both turn green. The 8 gets completed with a grey here. We can't extend this, so that's got to be green. Oh, good grief. Now I can now write the number into the corner. That's got to be a 6 by count. The 9 gets its other 2. It's 7 at the moment. It gets its other 2 by framing this, so it doesn't bump into that. So that's definitely shaded. That can't be a rectangle. It's still got to grow a bit bigger. That's at least a 7 rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Okay, this one, however big it is, it doesn't bump into this because it would become too big. If it did that, it's already got 9 cells in it. So it's got to bump, it's got to go low. I think it's got to take this one as well because it's at least 7. It's currently only 6. It could take that one for 7 and stop, but it can't take that. That's the best it can do. So it must take this square. Okay, don't know what that means. Probably something. We could. Oh, Okay, that's not 1 anymore. Is that important? I know these are 1 and 9. I don't know what the shaded nature of that one is. Oh, I know what the shaded nature of that is. That's a 1. So that's a 9, that's a 1. That's a 9. That's a 3. That's now a 1. So 1 is in one of those positions. By sudoku. I mean, it's outrageous, these constructors making me do sudoku in these puzzles. But there we have it. Now what do we do now? Have we... Oh, alright, here's a point. Look at the 13 clue. So the 13 is adding the shaded cells in the column, isn't it? And there's a 1 here, so it must be adding those 2 shaded cells. Those 2 must add up to 13. And there must be a 9 in one of those 2 squares, which I can place. I don't know what the nature of the 9 is. Oh, no, I do. Yes, I do. Because this 9 is growing by 2, depending on whether that goes there for those 2, or it goes there for those 2. So these are most certainly shaded. So, oh, okay, now, all right, no, much easier, much easier than that is the nature of this square. Now, if this was green, it would be part of a shape that's of size 9. So it would be a 9, but it can't be a 9. So it's grey. And now it can't bump into a grey shape of size 2. So the grey shape of size 2 looks exactly like that. In order for this sort of partial comb here to be correctly sized, that's got to be grey. We can't then, for the corners green, we're doing quite well all of a sudden. 1, 2, 3, we've got 7 here, so we could have 8 depending on whether this grows. And these 2 digits added up to 13 without using 9. So they're either 5, 8 or 6, 7. That is not 6. That is not 7. And that's very disappointing because it's not going to tell us the answer at all. Alright, so what we will do instead, those 3 digits add up to 18. Is that in some way intelligible? Not really. I don't think so. They don't have to have 8 in them, for example. It could be 5, 6, 7. So it's probably just, we've just got to figure out this top bit, and then we'll be golden. Don't know. Oh dear. Sorry. Okay, the 14 is summing shaded cells, isn't it? So, and these can't be 1s and 9s. So this is not included in the sum. So, and we must be summing. So if that's not in the sum, that can't be in the sum because it's not capable of being in a sandwich. We must be summing those 2 digits to 14, which means they must be a 6-8 pair. That means that's a 7 and that's an 8. That's going to be important for this. That must be 7, 6 now, which has to be in that order. And I think we might be able to do better because, yeah, in order to frame this 6-8 pair in a sandwich, given these can't be 1 or 9, that must be a 1 or a 9, and it's a 9 therefore, and now there has to be a 1 here. That's a 3 by dint of that being the correct size. This 7 is finished, we've done it, so that's got to be shaded. We can't make a non-rectangle, so this thing at the top, it's all going to be about this digit, I think. If that is unshaded, then it would be 7, so we'd have to increase its size. But we could do that, couldn't we? How does that get resolved, actually? That's very strange. That square is a 5, naked single. Oh, see, that's actually how it gets resolved. Is its actual size? It has to be a low digit, so it can't be unshaded now. So it's got to be shaded, and it's got to be rectangular, and it can't be a 1. So it is a 2, and that's therefore the completion. We've done it. We've done the shading, which it's taken me an hour, but we have done it. Happy birthday, Scojo. I'm sorry you had to put up with my my inanity for rather too long during that, but that was really confusing in times, or at times. Now, okay, so hopefully we can now blitz through this puzzle in a matter of seconds, just doing sudoku. We can. That's a 4, that's a 3. There's a 3 in one of these squares, therefore by sudoku. Do we know? I don't know actually. 7. 7 is in one of those 2 squares. As is 9. That's a bit of sudoku. There's a 2, therefore forced upwards. The 8 is doing the 6 and the 8 over here. That may do. No. I got hopeful for a moment, but no. 6 is a tiny bit restricted in box 4. I definitely have used the clues, haven't I? Oh, I haven't used the 18 clue, actually. I haven't done those, and they haven't got 8 in anymore. Oh, so they are 5, 6, 7. That was the only other way we could do that, wasn't it? Because we haven't got 8 or 9 in the sum, so that places 3. So I now get a 2, 3 pair, in which means these are a 1, 4 pair, which I can resolve. Which means that's a 1 by sudoku. That's not 7 by dint of this. So that might be good. Where, yeah, 1 and 4 are a pair there, and we can see the order. How many 1s have we got? Have we got all of them? Yeah, we've got all of them. What about 4s then? Very much not. 4 is in one of those. Okay, let's have a look at this row. We haven't got 2 and 4 into those squares, so we can write those, at least those options in. 5, 6, 7, 9. This is a 6, 7 pair. So these are a 5. These are a 5, 9 pair. Now we can do that. Didn't really do a great deal for us, did it? In the bottom row, we need 5 and 8. I don't think we know. I don't think we can resolve that. So that's got to be 6 or 8 by sudoku. No, is that right? Yeah, okay, hang on. Yes, 6 is just placed in box, or it was in this row from this 6. I could have done that ages ago. So that's an 8 in the corner. That's a 5. That's an 8. Pregnant pause while I try and work out what that's done. That is now... That's a 7 or an 8. These squares are a 2 and a 4. I feel like I've said that before. Okay, we've got to carry on. 6 in column 6 is there. So that's a 7 or a 9. So this is a 6 by sudoku, which does the 6 and the 7 at the bottom of the grid. 7 lives in one of 2 places in box 3. And we still need 3, 7 and 8, don't we? Into box 3. So we could get a 3 in the corner. This is suggesting it's possible at least. That's not 7. Okay, right. So where do we look now? We've got to place 7 here. That's good. So 5 and 7 we can do. 8 and 7 we can do. 7 and 9 we can do. That plonks 9 here. So this is a 5, 8 pair. may be unresolved, not sure. But that was another flurry of reasonable activity. We need 2, 3 and 6 across here, so that's the 6 in this row has to go there. That's got to be a 2 or a 3. It looks like we've got loads of 2, 3, 4, 5s to resolve everywhere. 2s, 3s and 4s. Okay, that's not 2. That's a naked single. That's 2. It sees 3 and 4. So this is 3 or 4. Whoopsie. That's 3 or 4. That 3 tells us that's 4 actually. So that's 3. And we're just slowly working our way through the sudoku here. Now, what do we need in box 1? 5? Oh no. Yeah, it is 5, 7 and 9. Sorry, I was seeing the pencil mark 2 and trying to work out what that meant. So 7 has to go there. Which means that's 8, that's 3, that's 8, that's 5. That's, oh, is 7 in the corner? No! We were robbed! 5 and 9 here. So this is a 2 or a 4. 2, 4, 5 into these squares. And, oh, 3 here is useful. So 2, 3, 2, 2, 4, 5, 4, 2. Okay, I'm confident now we're going to finish if I haven't made an error. Which is possibly getting ahead of ourselves, is it right? Yes. 16 people in nearly a year. Okay, so it is. I don't think it's a totally straightforward puzzle. That it's brilliant. It's quite brilliant. That's another message from Mark, I loved that. That was really. It was very different. I'm going to be fascinated to actually see how people found that and whether they were able to breeze through it, because I think I don't know. I am really torn about how difficult I think that central column is. I think that's quite hard. Because you've got to put together, and you know, obviously some people will do this, but you've got to put together quite a few different strands of thought. And the fact that you aren't sure whether things are shaded or unshaded, I found that very difficult. And you have to sort of think about what it means to have the stretching out things. It's a very clever puzzle. Very clever indeed. Scojo, you are a clever man. And happy birthday, my friend. And let me know in the comments how you got on. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.